The night begins like any other. Velvet darkness wrapped around the earth, pierced by ancient pinpricks of light. Familiar constellations linger overhead, the same ones that once guided sailors, lovers, and dreamers through time. But something is wrong. One by one, the stars begin to vanish, not with a bang, not with a fade. They simply stop. No afterglow, no trace of light traveling across the centuries, just void, as if the sky has forgotten what it meant to shine. Across mountaintop observatories and desert plains, astronomers stare upward in disbelief. Telescopes, finely tuned to read the whispers of distant suns, return nothing but silence. The sky is empty, not dimmed, not clouded, empty. The last to disappear is Betelgeuse, once a red giant throbbing like a heartbeat in Orion's shoulder. Then even it flickers out, leaving behind a darkness so complete it hums. Children notice first. They ask why the stars have turned off. Elders feel it next, as though something sacred has been stolen, some silent covenant between humanity and the heavens broken. There is no warning, no gravitational waves, no catastrophic explosions or swells of radiation, just an eerie stillness, as if the universe has exhaled and chosen not to breathe in again. The moon hangs ghost-like, unsure of its place. The planets remain, dim beads slowly crawling along familiar orbits. But without the stars, they are adrift in a sky with no context. Navigation collapses, calendars fracture, time itself begins to feel unanchored. For the first time in human history, the night sky offers no reflection, only a deep, wordless question echoing through the void. What kind of silence can erase every light in the universe at once? And what does it mean when even time begins to forget how to move forward, long before telescopes, before equations carved the laws of motion into stone? Light was mythology. The stars were celestial scribes, inscribing the heavens with tales of gods, of fate, of fire. Nomads read their patterns to cross vast dunes. Farmers obeyed their rhythm to know when to sow and reap. But behind that mystic canvas, something more fundamental stirred, something that would wait millennia before it revealed itself. Light was not just beauty, it was memory. When a star shines, it sends not just warmth, but witness. Each photon, born in fusion's furnace, travels for years, sometimes millions, to arrive in a waiting eye or lens. In that faint touch of brightness is encoded the age, motion, and very makeup of the cosmos. Light is the language the universe speaks when it tells its story. In the early 20th century, a man named Edwin Hubble listened. Standing atop Mount Wilson, his eye pressed to the Hooker telescope, Hubble saw galaxies not as static, divine fixtures, but as islands adrift. He measured their redshift, the stretching of their light like a receding echo, and discovered they were moving away. The universe, he realized, was expanding. The stars were not fixed in place. They were fleeing. That revelation shattered the stillness of the cosmos. The night sky was not eternal. It had a beginning. And if it had a beginning, perhaps it had a story. Then came a whisper, even older than starlight. In 1964, Arno Penzias and Robert Wilson, working at Bell Labs, stumbled upon a mysterious noise. No matter where they pointed their antenna, the signal remained. Soft, persistent, cosmic. It was the afterglow of the Big Bang, the cosmic microwave background, the first true echo of the universe becoming. From that point forward, light became a map, not just of stars, but of everything: time, structure, origin. Scientists became cartographers of the invisible, drawing meaning from faint glimmers at the edge of perception. Every galaxy surveyed, every quasar logged, added to a growing lattice of knowledge. Light revealed the scaffolding of the cosmos, clusters, filaments, dark voids between. It showed the fingerprint of inflation, the birth pangs of time. It told us what stars were made of, how black holes devour, where dark matter hides. And yet, it was only the beginning. In the early 21st century, the Hubble Space Telescope peered into a sliver of black sky and found galaxies, thousands of them, where nothing should have been. It was called the ultra-deep field. What looked like a dark patch of night held time folded into itself. Light from billions of years ago streamed into our sensors. We were not looking into space. We were looking into history. Then came its successor, the James Webb Space Telescope. Where Hubble saw the young, Webb saw the newborn. Infrared eyes pierced ancient veils, pulling the first stars, the first galaxies into view. It was as if the universe had turned its face toward us, showing the raw expression of its infancy. But then, something strange began to happen. In the deep fields, where red shifts were highest and galaxies the oldest, there were anomalies. Galaxies that were too bright, too structured, too early. Some of them seemed older than they should be. Others flickered. At first, it was dismissed. Sensor noise, calibration errors, statistical ghosts. But the patterns persisted. Some stars vanished between surveys. Others dimmed, then reappeared. Centuries of stellar behavior condensed into moments. Researchers dug into archival data. Old sky maps, once thought obsolete, were pulled out like sacred scrolls. Across decades, in image after image, tiny irregularities emerged. A star that should still be burning. Gone. A galaxy, once a smear of light, now a void. And strangest of all, some of the disappearances occurred in patterns. Constellations dissolved not randomly, but rhythmically, like something unseen was casting a net across the cosmos. Suddenly, questions once confined to theoretical corners began to echo across the scientific world. Could these be signatures of advanced civilizations? Dyson spheres cloaking stars? Was dark energy destabilizing regions of spacetime? Or was light itself being rewritten? One hypothesis whispered in corners of labs spoke of quantum decoherence at galactic scales. Another hinted at variable constants, laws of physics bending in far-off corners of the cosmos. Whatever it was, the sacred continuity of light, the bridge between past and present, was faltering. Astronomers no longer trusted the sky to be what it seemed. What was once the most stable reference in science had become a flickering memory. Light, once the storyteller, now trembled in its telling. Somewhere, buried in those deep field anomalies, is a pattern we don't yet understand. And perhaps, when the stars go silent, it is not darkness we are seeing, but a message written in the pauses between light. It begins in Chile, on a mountain that has watched the stars longer than most civilizations have stood. A routine observation run, the same fields mapped every week. But tonight, the sensors report something different. A patch of known stars, hundreds of them, has gone dark. At first, the team assumes a fault, a software error, a misalignment. But diagnostics come back clean. The stars have vanished, not from the sky, but from the light itself. They are not obstructed. They are absent. Within hours, similar reports echo across the globe. In Hawaii, in the Canary Islands, in Australia. The disappearances are not isolated. They are coordinated. Pulsars, once reliable like cosmic clocks, stop mid-beat. Quasars that blazed with the fury of ancient black holes dim into spectral memory. Telescopes set to auto-track targets begin to drift, unable to locate anchors that were there the night before. Catalogs are updated, but confusion deepens. Objects logged across decades now read as blank space. Even the oldest plates, the analog archives of photographic astronomy, flicker with inconsistency. The past itself is being rewritten. At CERN and other physics labs, a theoretical frenzy erupts. What could cause this? Dark matter collapse? Localized curvature in space-time? Quantum decoherence at stellar scales? But these explanations carry their own contradictions. No gravitational ripple accompanies the absences, no heat signature, no gamma burst. The stars do not die, they simply vanish. A silence spreads, not just optical, but fundamental. Across continents, teams recalibrate their instruments. LIGO listens for gravitational waves. Fermi scans for neutrino bursts. Nothing. It is as if the sky has become an empty canvas, wiping itself clean with precision. A new theory whispers its way into classified halls and secret briefings. This is not a natural event. What if the stars are not collapsing, but being cloaked? The idea isn't new. Since the 1960s, some scientists have speculated on advanced civilizations reaching the Kardashev Type 3 threshold, able to harness the energy output of an entire galaxy. One method? Encasing stars in Dyson spheres, vast structures that capture starlight, making it invisible from the outside. At first, this was science fiction. Now, it feels like precedent. But skepticism fights back. Who would cloak millions of stars at once? And why? A deeper theory forms in the minds of cosmologists, the most daring among them. They speak of topological phase transitions, cosmic reconfigurations of reality's fabric. If space behaves like a quantum field, could it be undergoing a shift, a kind of reboot? In this view, stars aren't vanishing. They are falling behind a veil. The universe is closing chapters of itself, perhaps preparing for something else. Others take a darker view. What if this is the work of something older than light? Not intelligence, but inevitability. Not death, but erasure. As the scientific world trembles, Earth begins to feel the shift. The tides change, not in their height, but in their pulse. Moonrise appears, off, by fractions of a second at first, then minutes, then more. Gravitational patterns seem altered. Satellites drift subtly from calculated orbits. Deep space probes return anomalous data, signal delays that can't be explained by distance. On Earth's surface, the effect is quieter, but no less real. Migratory birds lose their way. Some plants bloom early, others late, confused by the absence of starlight cues they never consciously depended on. Coral spawning fails to synchronize. Biological clocks flicker. For millennia, life on Earth evolved under the rhythm of distant stars. Their seasonal rise and fall told the planet when to wake, when to sleep. Now that rhythm is broken. The conductor has left the stage, and the orchestra falters. In labs, atomic clocks begin to diverge. Time, once the most stable metric of all, shows signs of asymmetry. Seconds do not lengthen, but their context shifts. Time no longer feels constant. It drifts, subtly but certainly, like a compass with a magnetic pole that won't hold still. Scientists begin to understand. Starlight was not just illumination, it was orientation. Without it, physics starts to unravel in minute, accumulating ways. Equations built on universal constants no longer yield the same answers. GPS satellites miscalculate by impossible margins. The global grid struggles to synchronize. Light speed, long thought immutable, begins to show regional variation. Not enough to panic the public, but enough for the physicists to grow pale. In hidden circles, more radical theories emerge. One suggests that we are witnessing the first signs of a cosmic boundary collapse, a failure in the holographic scaffolding that renders reality, like pixels blinking out at the edge of a simulation. Another posits the influence of a mirror universe, a twin domain brushing up against our own, its presence canceling out starlight via destructive interference. But then comes the most chilling theory yet. What if the universe is editing itself? Imagine a system so vast, so ancient, it monitors itself for imbalance. When regions grow too entropic or reach a certain threshold, they are overwritten, reset, restructured. Stars could be the markers of a readable cosmos, like data points in a database. When they go dark, they are being de-indexed. This theory sends shockwaves through the astrophysical community, because if it's true and the stars are being archived, then we might be next, not in violence, but in absence. Still, amid the fear, a strange beauty remains. Some artists begin to paint again, not what they see, but what they remember. Starfields reborn from memory. Sky charts reconstructed like sacred manuscripts. In northern villages where auroras used to dance, elders speak of dreams where the stars still sing. In the Amazon, tribal astronomers remember constellations the West never knew. Their oral maps are passed like prayers. It is as if the universe has shifted from an external landscape to an internal one. The stars now live in memory, and memory becomes more than recollection. It becomes defiance. Still, the silence spreads. Light years away, whole galaxies disappear from surveys. The cosmic web begins to unravel, its filaments thinning. Background radiation changes pitch, ever so slightly, like the universe is humming a different tune. On Mars, the InSight lander picks up micro-tremors never felt before, deep, low-frequency waves echoing from beneath the regolith. On Europa, under its ice, tidal forces weaken. The water moves differently. The sun still shines. But now, it feels watched, as if the last lamp in a darkened corridor is growing self-aware of its isolation. And then, one day, the Earth's own light curve, its faint glimmer seen from afar, shifts. It is subtle, unnoticed by most. But for those watching, it means everything. For the first time, the Earth's own light flickers, the final echo of a greater pattern. Something vast and silent is moving through the cosmos, not with destruction, but with quiet intent. And as the light continues to die, humanity begins to wonder, what happens to a civilization when the stars are no longer watching? The sky is empty now, not in the way of cloudy nights or city glare, but in the way a book closes. A final chapter sealed, a silence printed across the firmament. No Orion, no Ursa Major, no silent shimmer of Alpha Centauri reaching across centuries. Only the dark, deep, seamless, and absolute. And in this absence, something strange begins to happen. Humans, once guided by starlight, turn their gaze inward. With no celestial map above, they begin to chart new constellations, ones made not of stars, but of thought, memory, and dreams. Philosophers speak again of the soul of the cosmos. Poets reclaim the language of night. Even scientists, with equations bending into uncertainty, begin to ask questions that feel less mechanical, and more metaphysical. Without stars, the myth of permanence fades. Civilizations built on the scaffolding of celestial regularity now stand in the echo of impermanence. Calendars drift, festivals lose their anchor, but in that unraveling, a deeper awareness stirs. What if the stars were never monuments, but messengers? What if their vanishing is not an erasure, but an invitation? An ancient signal, billions of years long, now completed. Across the globe, lights dim. Cities voluntarily go dark once a week, as if mourning or remembering, or both. In the quiet, some claim to feel the earth itself more clearly, the pulse of tectonic breath, the whisper of the oceans, the rhythms that were always there beneath the stellar noise. The last radio telescopes are re-aimed, not outward, but toward the moon, the sun, and even Earth itself, listening not for alien signals, but for the language of our own planet. And perhaps this is what the stars were trying to teach all along. That meaning was never solely out there, scattered across unreachable suns. It was also here, in the silence between heartbeats, in the time it takes for a child to wonder where the stars have gone, and in the way humanity responds when the universe stops speaking in light. New sciences emerge, not just physics or astronomy, but disciplines born of reverence. Fields where equations are matched with music, where logic dances with intuition. In the absence of the stars, a new cosmology blooms, one rooted not in observation alone, but in participation. The universe is no longer a distant object to be studied. It is a presence to be felt, remembered, and possibly answered. And then, one night, so faint it might have been imagined, something flickers, not in the sky, but in the space behind closed eyes. A pulse, a shimmer, a memory reawakening. Perhaps the stars never left. Perhaps they've only changed their shape, moved into a dimension where presence is not seen, but sensed. Or perhaps the universe is dreaming a new dream, and we, briefly awake inside it, are learning to listen again. The stars are silent now, but silence too is a kind of music, and in its rhythm, humanity finds a new beginning, not in light, but in the echo it left behind.